Let's listen to what Together for Peace has to say. A link to his complete video will be provided below.
I've heard it from both sides, atheist and theist. I'm not compelled by either side for the reasons that they want to try and argue for. They want to talk a lot about the philosophy. They want to talk a lot about the theology. But there's a feeling that when I watch the videos of these certain peoples, the people that are doing these sort of things, they live a very uninspiring life. I don't get the sense that they have a sense of joy, of peace, of mind, of heart, of life, that there's a sense of meaningfulness and drive behind who they are if you were to meet them in real life and engage with them in real life. There isn't a sense that they are pressing forward beyond the philosophy and the theology, which anyone can do that. Anyone can do that now. We all have it at our fingertips, the information, the wealth of information, it's everywhere. Anyone can get it. Give me more.
Okay, Jack, I'll give you more. I'm not on YouTube to parrot the arguments of people who already agree with me. I'm here to express myself, the concerns and thoughts I have with a wider audience than I could have otherwise reached. I'm motivated to do so because every day I look into the eyes of children and see the devastating effects of ignorance, poverty, and dogma that work cyclically to enhance one another in their lives. I see children who are victims of fundamental tradition, who will pass that same burden on to their own children, children who would have been born into physical slavery in this very area 150 years ago are now raised into mental slavery by their ignorant parents. And I see those adults struggling with the same problems because they're too old and set in their ways to have anyone educate them now without debate, and most are too deeply enslaved to have their shackles pried with logic. So I come here to share those concerns and make my arguments and express myself, not to read off arguing points fleshed out from some search engine. But that's why I'm here. You want to know about my life. I'd be happy to show you my life, to take a camera to work or around the streets to show you the world I live in that I'm talking about. But if you don't know the story of why I can't do that, I'll link it below for you. So forgive me for having to tell you about my life because I can't show it to you. I wake up every day, put on a shirt and tie, and walk into a public school classroom in a poor, rural community, hoping that I can be effective at my job, that maybe I'll make some kind of positive impact on at least one of the 30 kids I have to educate all at the same time. Contrary to the principles of prayer, however, it's not enough just to hope. I set out to work at it every day. My work has absolutely nothing to do with convincing kids that their theology is nonsense. It's not my place. And if their parents desire to raise them as intolerant, ignorant fundamentalists, it's beyond my power to correct them at school. My work in the classroom consists of trying to inspire kids to read information, to glean it from multiple sources rather than arbitrarily trusting the first thing they see or hear, because this point-and-click text and send generation doesn't want to look past a Wikipedia article or the first search result on Google unless they're pushed to do so. I take up the task of teaching children to write and speak standard English, which is seriously a second language for them. For most of them, their native tongue is a hodgepodge of ghetto country text lexicon that won't be taken seriously by any professor or employer outside of the rural South. Doing this means explaining to children that the speech of their parents, rappers, and sports figures who make up their greatest living idols is not legitimate for professional communication. I have to do this without insulting them because their speech is a part of who they are. Their youth causes too much tunnel vision to realize that the adult with the silk noose around his neck is there to help them, not just force them to read and write when they'd rather be lounging in front of their Xboxes, thumbing their cell phones, or getting lost in the lyrics from their iPods. Outside of the classroom, I grade their papers and give the best feedback I can for improvement by reading every single word they give me and meaning every single word I write back. I do this knowing I'll be lucky if 10% of my 100 students will read the corrections I make and advice I give. I evaluate if I thought my lessons were effective and what I need to do for improvement in the future. I call parents for positive and negative reports on their children's academic progress and classroom behavior. Most of the numbers don't work, people don't answer, or parents don't care. I'm lucky if I get to see 5 or 6 faces of the people who entrust their children to me each semester. I also mentor some young men with anger issues who don't have adults in their lives they can trust. I taught one kid without a father how to shave this semester. Work usually keeps me busy for most of my day, but I do have friends beyond it. Usually, I have more lessons to write, papers to grade, or paperwork to do when I get home, but I get the job done, and I do it for the kids. If I was paid below minimum wage for babysitting each kid that I teach, and I was paid by the hour for my job, I'd make about $100,000 a year, but I don't. The days are longer during the sports season that I coach and donate my coaching salary towards things the team needs because there's no money in the budget for it, and I'm not going to make poor kids do fundraising campaigns in an impoverished area. I find it would distract from the actual things I'm trying to teach them. I do all this, Jack, not because of some moral obligation to a deity or because I trust my selflessness in this life will be rewarded in some afterlife. Nor do I think that Christians with noble professions and charitable pastimes would become any less altruistic if they didn't have the incentives they expect from their God. I do it because I consider it a worthy investment of my time, because I believe that the world will be at least a little bit better in the future, not because of me, but because of my students, and I feel they're worth it. That's the life I live. It isn't sad, it isn't lonely, and it's not limited to philosophical or theological rhetoric. I hope that helps.